students, I'll be explaining about the anatomical as well as the physiological lobes of the liver. So this lobe is classified into two types. First one is anatomical lobe as well as the physiological lobe. So anatomical lobe is called as false lobe, whereas physiological lobe is also called as true lobe. Why is the anatomical lobe called as false lobe? Because they do not explain about internal structures of the liver. Whereas physiological lobe explain about internal structures. So physiological lobe explains about the internal structures. The anatomical lobe is having two surfaces. So anatomical lobe is having two surfaces. First one is diaphragmatic surface and the second one is visceral surface. So diaphragmatic surface is also called as anterior surface, whereas visceral surface is also called as the posterior surface. Diaphragmatic surface is smooth in nature, whereas visceral surface is rough in nature due to the presence of various organs, arteries, veins, attachments. So diaphragmatic surface is still further divided into two types, namely right lobe as well as the left lobe. It is classified into right lobe as well as left lobe. So the left lobe and right lobe is classified by whom? It is classified by falciform ligament. So it is classified by falciform ligament. If this is the structure of the liver, free diagram representation of the liver. So this is the left lobe and this is the right lobe. So who divides the right lobe and the left lobe? The falciform ligament is the one which is dividing the left lobe as well as right lobe. Now we'll speak about the visceral surface of the liver. So visceral surface is of four types. First one is right lobe and left, caudate, quadrate as well as caudate. So visceral surface is of four types, that is right lobe, left lobe, caudate lobe as well as quadrate lobe. If this is the posterior view, this is the anterior view, remember this is anterior view and this is the posterior view. So we'll draw the posterior diagrammatic representation of the liver. If this is the liver, so remember one thing, on the posterior surface of a liver there is a H-shaped structure forming. Anatomical and physiological lobes of the liver is a 5 marks question usually asked. Explain about anatomical and physiological lobes of the liver. So there is a H-shaped structure right here. H-shaped structure formed. So what are those H-shaped structures? So remember this thing, very important. Here comes LT. Main gate is porta hepatis. Inferior vena cava, gallbladder. LT, porta hepatis and inferior vena cava, gallbladder. So see here comes the ligamentum venosum. So here comes the ligamentum venosum. So the next structure is formed by the ligamentum teres. So on the other side, it is formed by the inferior vena cava. And below, it is formed by the fossa of gallbladder. fossa of gallbladder. Now, the main gate, middle channel of the head-shaped structure is formed by porta hepatis. Porta hepatis is a very important question usually asked. Porta hepatis is very important question usually asked. So, anatomical and physiological lobes, two types of lobes, anatomical lobe, physiological lobe. False lobe, true lobes. True lobes which tells about the internal structures, false lobe does not explain. In the anatomical lobe there are two types, diaphragmatic surface, visceral surface. Diaphragmatic surface is also called as anterior surface, smooth surface. Visceral surface is also called as posterior surface, rough surface. Diaphragmatic surface of two types, right lobe, left lobe, differentiated by the falciform ligament, anterior view. Visceral surface, there are four types. So right lobe, left lobe, quadrate lobe. So you can notice here, right lobe, left lobe. So here you can see properly, left lobe, right lobe, caudate lobe, as well as the quadrate lobe. You can see the differentiation. It is differentiated by the head-shaped structure. What are those? Ligamentum venosum, ligamentum teres, porta hepatis, inferior vena cava, as well as the fossa for gallbladder. So the next point is physiological lobe. So physiological lobe, as I said, they are also known as true lobe, or they are also known as functional lobe, or else physiological segment lobe. Usually this question will be asked, what are the segments of the liver? Explain segments of liver. So remember one thing, in anatomical lobe, the right lobe is a bit bigger than the left lobe. Why? Because there is presence of liver on the there is presence of stomach on the left side. But in physiological lobe, you have to consider that right lobe size is same as of the left lobe. Right lobe size is same as of the left lobe. How is it divided? So in the anatomical lobe, there were two surfaces, diaphragmatic surface as well as visceral surface. In anatomical lobe, there were two surfaces, diaphragmatic surface, visceral surface. But in the physiological lobe, there are three surfaces. First one is anterior surface, second one is inferior surface, as well as third one is posterior surface. So we'll discuss about the three surfaces deeply. Okay, if this is the liver, so this is the gallbladder, this is the teres, ligamentum teres notch, this is the inferior vena cava. So first one is the anterior surface. So anterior surface is the one which is joining from inferior vena cava to gallbladder. Inferior vena cava to gallbladder. This is the anterior surface. Behind is the posterior surface. Okay, this is the anterior surface. Behind is the posterior surface, and this lower part where you can see all these things, this is the inferior surface. Anterior surface is from inferior vena cava to gallbladder surface. Second one is inferior surface. It is the plane passing through the gallbladder. The plane passing through the gallbladder. And the third one, which is the posterior surface. So posterior surface is the line passing through the quadrate lobe. So classification of the physiological lobe. So this physiological lobe is classified into two types, right lobe as well as the left lobe. Right lobe is classified into two types, anterior and posterior lobe. The left lobe is classified as lateral lobe as well as the medial lobe. Each is having superior, inferior, superior, inferior surface, superior surface, inferior surface, superior surface, inferior surface, superior surface as well as the inferior surface. You can see in the diagram here. So it is divided like this. This is the right lobe as well as this is the left lobe. Right lobe as well as the left lobe. So it is classified as anterior surface, posterior surface, lateral surface, medial surface, anterior surface, posterior surface, lateral surface, medial surface. I said each is classified into superior, inferior, superior, inferior, posterior has superior, inferior, anterior also has superior, inferior, medial also has superior, inferior, finally lateral also has superior, inferior. They are divided on the basis of segments. It is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you like my channel, please like, share, subscribe. In the next topic, I'll be dealing about the ligaments of the liver. Thank you.